All right. Why doesn't everyone stand up on your feet? We're gonna get into some worship. The band is going to lead us. We're gonna sing some songs, and just to get started, we did this last week, and I thought it was a little cheesy, but it was kind of fun and worked. So why doesn't everyone just clap? Everyone clap. Multiple times. Clap multiple times. Okay. Good. So that works. Okay. Everyone jump. Just jump up and down. Jump up and down. Feet aren't off the floor. Jump up and down. Jump up and down. I wasn't just pointing at you, Kiana. Okay, so you guys can jump up and down. And everyone scream at the top of your lungs. 1, 2, 3. Okay, you can do better. That was kind of like, fish fly landed on my toe. Like yell as if it like got into like behind your eyeball. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, you guys don't care about fish flies behind your eyeballs. That's okay. We're gonna move into a time of worship, and I want you to clap, to jump, to sing, to scream, and we're gonna sing a song. It's called "Something Good," and it goes, "You are always up to something good," and I love that about God because sometimes when life sucks, we don't always remember that He's up to something good. And so let's sing and let's celebrate that that our God is up to something good.
That you are all I searched the world, but it couldn't fill me. A man's empty praise and treasures that fade are never enough. Then you came along and put me back together, and every desire is now satisfied here in your love. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you, Lord. There's nothing, nothing is better than you. I'm not afraid to show you my weakness, my failures and flaws. Lord, you see them all, and you still call me friend. 'Cause the God of the mountain is the God of the valley. There's not a place your mercy and grace won't find me again. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you, Lord. There's nothing, nothing is better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you, Lord. There's nothing, nothing is better than you. You turn mourning to dancing. You give beauty for ashes. You turn shame into glory. You're the only one who can. You turn mourning to dancing. You turn beauty for ashes. You turn shame into glory. You're the only one who can. You turn graves into gardens. You turn bones into armies. You turn seas into highways. You're the only one who can. You're the only one who can. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you, Lord. There's nothing, nothing is better than you. Oh, there's nothing better than you. There's nothing better than you, Lord. There's nothing, nothing is better than you. You turn graves into gardens. You turn bones into armies. You turn seas into highways. You're the only one who can. You turn seas into highways. You turn bones into armies. You turn seas into highways.
you to just put your hands out at your side, like kind of in a surrendered position. I want you to close your eyes. Forget about the people in the room here. Forget about what's maybe been going on throughout your week. I know summer has started, and that's exciting for many of you, and for some of you, maybe you're feeling like there's nothing to look forward to right now. Maybe you're feeling like the season that you're going through is never going to end, or that it's not actually a season. But we just sang about how our God turns graves into gardens. We sang about how our God turns bones into armies. And I'm not sure if all of you know where that comes from. That's actually from the Bible. In Ezekiel, there's a story about how Ezekiel has a vision from God, and he sees a pile of dry bones, just dead, dry bones. And God tells him to speak and to prophesy that they will rise up and they turn into bodies and they become alive. And that's what our God does, is he takes dead things and makes them alive. So we just want to pray to this God who makes things alive and gives us hope even in hopeless situations. No matter what you're going through, it may feel hopeless. You may feel like you have nothing to look forward to. But let's pray to our God who is always good and always up to something. Heavenly Father, I just thank you that you're always up to something good. I thank you that there is nothing better than you. God, I pray for each and every individual here tonight that they would choose to find hope in you, God. That they would choose to experience more of you and surrender their life to live more fully for you. Regardless of what season they're walking in, God, I pray that we would all just surrender more and more of our heart to you. And that we would walk into the fullness of what you have for us. Because whether you've known Jesus for 2 days or your entire life, he has more in store for you. And God, would you just help us to see that and to seek you out, God, as we sing this next song, that we would actually just seek more of you, God, that we would want more of who you are and what you have in store for us, God. That we would push past our circumstances and what's happened throughout this week and what we're maybe fearful or dreading about this summer, and that we would just press on and look at our God, not our circumstances, but our God. You are so holy and worthy of praise in every season, Jesus. Amen.
I love you, Lord. Oh, your mercy never fails me. All my days I've been held in your hands. From the moment that I wake up till I lay my head, I will sing of the goodness of God. All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. I love your voice. You have led me through the fire in darkest night. You are close like no other. I've known you as a father, known you as a friend. I have lived in the goodness of God. of the goodness of God. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. My life laid down and surrendered now, I give you praise. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. My life laid down, I'm surrendered now, I give you Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. I will sing of the goodness of God.
Cool. There we go. Why don't you just close your eyes? Close your eyes. God, I thank you so much that you are faithful. God, I thank you that you are so good to us. God, that when we're not faithful and when we do wrong things, when we mess up and when we carry guilt and shame around, God, you're still there. You're still faithful. You're still so good to us. And so, God, I just thank you for your just unending love for your children, for everyone in this room. God, I can't think of a person who has an unending love like you, even our best friends, God. And so, God, I thank you that you're always there for us. You're always good. You're always faithful. And God, I would just pray that we would remember that. Whenever we feel guilty or shame and we do something wrong, God, you're always there. Amen. Why don't you take a seat and check out the video behind me on the screen.
Another day. I'm here, but am I really? It's exhausting. Life is exhausting. Pretending to be okay, pretending to be better than I actually am. Fake smile, sleepless nights, thoughts running wild in my mind, the feeling of fear with no motivation to face it. I'm running low. The tank is empty. Low on energy, on feelings, on willpower, even low on the desire to really care about anything. It's easy to hide and act like everything's okay. Wear a mask to cover up the pain. I've made it this far. Why not just a little bit longer? But here's the thing. There's something wrong. I know it. I don't think it's supposed to be this way.
Anxious all the time, can't focus, scared, worried, nervous about the next thing. The test I don't think I can pass, the game next week, the party everyone is going to. So why face the fear when you can hide? Maybe I'll just sleep it off, lay in bed, pretend that those feelings don't exist. I'll wake up tomorrow and it'll all be fine. Except, that's what I said last week. What do they call this? Anxiety? Depression? I don't want to be that person, the anxious friend, the depressed kid. Everyone would look at me differently. How could anyone ever understand what I'm feeling? But look at all my friends. I'm the only one, aren't I? The only one that is struggling. What if I just told them? But what would my parents say? What would my friends say? Maybe I just shouldn't tell them. That would be easier. I think I need help.
You see, I saw this thing the other day. I was scrolling on Instagram, and it was this guy talking. He kept telling me that it wasn't supposed to be this way. He said I'm not supposed to feel this way. He said there's hope for me. There's help for me. He said there's a man named Jesus, and he loves me. He said that it doesn't have to be this way.
John 10 verse 10 says, "The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full." A man named Jesus offered me a better life, saying there's more for me than what I'm feeling. I wasn't created to feel anxious. I wasn't created to feel depressed. I was created to be loved. I was created to live life to the full. He died so that I can live. I can live a life full of purpose. I can find community. I can be free from the thoughts that are consuming me. So how do I live? How do I do that? These feelings are so real. The pain is so unbearable. Am I the only one who has ever felt this way? Where do I start? I need help. I need Jesus.
All right. Give it up for Miranda and Zoe leading worship tonight, and then they're in a video. You guys are just taking over. So, you guys should preach next week or something. What do you guys think? Yeah, they should. I think they should, yeah. Okay, cool. How many of you remember about a year and a half ago, early spring of 2019, when COVID kind of became a reality in Leamington? Do you guys kind of remember that week? Within a couple days, they were like, let's shut everything down. Nobody can go anywhere. You can't leave your house. Anybody remember that week? Yeah? Anyone like good times? You're like, yeah, I don't have to talk to anyone ever again. How many of you got a little bit frustrated? A little bit angry? A little confused? How many of you were just happy? Okay, a couple of you were happy. All right. Fun. I remember the week so clearly. The world went crazy. Do you guys remember everyone bought toilet paper? Like every single roll of toilet paper in the whole world was gone. How many people here bought toilet paper? Yeah? Nice. Do you guys still have a back stock? Yeah? Well, I know where I'm going if my family ever runs out. And then, just a few weeks ago, everyone, especially in the States, was running around because there was a gas shortage and they were filling up garbage bags full of gas. I saw a photo of a guy with a tarp in the box of his truck filling it up with gas because he was so scared that there was a gas shortage. Good times, right? Good times. But it's been a crazy year and a half. I feel like there is a light at the end of the tunnel. But man, that week 1, week 2, week 3, you're like, oh, this is gonna last a couple days, and then it's a couple weeks, and then it's a couple months, and lockdown keeps getting extended, and you're stuck with your family. And how many of you still have some PTSD from being stuck with your family? Relationships haven't been the same since. You're like, I can't stand them anymore, or maybe you grew closer. And you weren't allowed to hang out with your friends either. We were you had to be still. It was stay in your home, don't go anywhere unless you absolutely have to and there's an emergency. And you were stuck at home. And you were told, you can't see your friends. And when you get told you can't see your friends, you want to see your friends even more. And it was great. It was great, right? Some of you binge watched hours and hours of TV. I mean, I remember you couldn't go to school for the first time, and there was online learning, and everyone was like, you got to do well, but your marks don't count, so hurrah. And your parents became your teachers, and if you're homeschooled, nothing changed. But it was good. I mean, there was no sports teams. You couldn't come to church. There's still this 6 feet away rule, but that was new back then. And it was but what if I sneeze? Does my sneeze travel more than 6 feet? Or what if I cough? How far does it travel? And do you guys remember those days? Yeah? Yeah, crazy. But here's something that I noticed. The majority of people freaked out, right? Especially adults. They freaked out. They were like, there's a huge risk of getting the virus and you got to stay inside. Students, maybe you didn't freak out as much. But I think there was another element in our lives where every single person was freaking out and nobody talked about it. Nobody mentioned it. Everyone kept it on the inside. I think everyone struggled with it, especially students. And maybe you didn't even realize that you were kind of freaking out. You see, for the first time in a really, really long time, you had the chance to look at yourself. You had a chance to kind of do this like deep examination of who you were, not just, who you are when your friends are around, but who you are at your core. You had a chance to kind of really dig in. You were still, sometimes you were alone, and you had a chance to look at yourself in the mirror. And it's not like, oh man, COVID-19, people are saying they're gaining a lot of weight because they're just eating all the time. I'm not talking about looking in the mirror to get your summer body back. I'm talking about like an internal mirror. Like I don't know if I'm all that happy about who I am now that I have some time and space to think about my life. You had to sit alone and think, am I okay with the life I'm living? Is this all there is? Who am I when I'm not with my friends? Who am I apart from, being a good student or an athlete or an actor or a musician? I think for a lot of us, we just kind of sat in our house saying, there's got to be something more. There's got to be something more than I'm currently doing or that I was doing that I'm not anymore. Why do I feel so empty? What in the world is missing? How many of you would be honest and say, yeah, I had a couple moments where, throughout this last year and a half, I was able to kind of self-reflect and think about my life and the people. Yeah, you can be honest. Both of my hands are up. I'm still thinking like that. I'm still thinking about what I want my life to look like. But here's the thing. In those moments, in that silence, when we were still, we wanted to fight it so bad. And I think many of us did. We wanted to fight the silence because it's uncomfortable and it's terrifying sitting there listening to your own thoughts. I get terrified of my own thoughts. Sometimes I'll be sitting there and I'll be thinking about like worst case scenarios. And it's like, I wonder what would happen if my house burnt down right now. What would I do? You guys ever have those moments? Or you're just like, that car just drove by, but what if it didn't and just drove right into my living room? Right? Your mind goes crazy and you get scared of your own thoughts, and so you try and fight the silence, and so maybe you FaceTime someone so you don't feel empty, or you watch Friends for the 100th time because you can't hang out with your friends, but you can at least watch Friends. And you fight the silence by listening to music or going to sleep or working out or going on social media, or my personal favorite, which I do all the time, is just kind of just like check out what's in the fridge. Right? It's like I'm bored, let's go see what's in the fridge. Is anything like jump in there magically? Nope. See if anything else is in the fridge or in the freezer. Like, we just try and fight the silence. And I think if we're truly honest with ourselves, I think that was something or is something going on internally that we recognized in the last year and a half. That there's something that maybe you didn't think about before, that maybe you didn't have the chance, or maybe you didn't have the silence to reflect and think. And for the last year and a half, I think we've kind of been made aware of it. Maybe you felt, going from class to class and then to dinner and then to homework and then watching a TV show and then hanging out with friends and not really slowing down because you just didn't like the silence. And so you tried to make yourself really busy. Maybe you felt it when you got your final mark or you finished a project or an assignment and the mark kind of made you feel empty because you're like, oh, I could have done better and I feel good when I do my best, and my last achievement, it wasn't good enough. And maybe at some point in the last year and a half, you felt something internally and it felt like there was just something missing. Like you had a chance to look deep into your mind and your heart and your thoughts and into your soul. And you're like, something's missing. There's got to be something more. And you reflected on your life and your friends and your school, and you're like, oh man, I'm not really as happy as I thought I was. I was happy when things were good and my circumstances were good, but now that I'm just kind of alone and alone with my thoughts, I don't know if I'm as happy as I thought I was. And you start looking for something more. And I don't think we overly talk a lot about that. Like, you don't go to your friend and be like, hey, what's up? Spend some time alone today? Sure did. Nothing else to do. Did you examine your life on a real deep level and learn that you want something more? Sure did. Like, we don't have those conversations, right? We're just like, how you doing? Good, good. Yep. Let's play video games, right? But I want you to know this, and if you're taking notes on your phone, or if you brought a notepad or something, or if you want to take a picture of the screen, I want you to know this. This is something that we all have. We all have a deep desire within us for something more. And I think in this last year, we've definitely felt that. Like, we felt like something's missing. There's got to be something more. We had this desire for something more. You see, we've kind of been in this series and having a conversation about mental health, but I think we have to go a little bit deeper than that. I think we should really be talking about soul health. Soul health. Why don't you turn to the person beside you and say, what's up, how's your soul? It's kind of a weird question. We don't really ask each other that. How's your soul? But what in the world is soul health? Maybe you've heard it before, maybe you haven't, but soul health, kind of another way of saying it, is like, how are you really doing? How are you doing, not just, what's going on around you, but in your thoughts, and not just your feelings, but all of you. How are you honestly doing if you take a deep look inside yourself? And to those questions, we usually answer, I'm good. It's fine. And we look in the fridge again. But and this thing that we typically define good as, because I think we genuinely do think that we're good, but we typically define good as things that are happening around us. But here's what I want you to see. And you can write this down or take a photo, but what if good isn't measured by what happens around you? What if good is measured by what happens inside of you? What if good isn't measured by external things and you get good grades and you got some awards at graduation and you're feeling good about the next season, so you're like, yeah, I'm doing good. But what if we measured good by what's going on internally? What if we started thinking and answering this question, how are you really doing, by taking a closer look inside? And I think for many of us, I think maybe instead of finding, symptoms or feelings or thoughts of depression and anxiety and saying, I've got a disorder, maybe you'll find that you have a soul that's disordered. A soul that's disordered. Like something is a little off inside of us. Maybe it's giving off symptoms of anxiety and symptoms of depression and hopelessness, but what if the root cause, what if there's something deeper than that? What if there's something driving those symptoms? And what if it's a soul that's disordered? Like, what if there's something that just feels like it's missing inside and we're looking for something more? I think too many times we look for a solution to what's going on before looking inward to see how things are really doing, to see if we're really good. So let me ask you, how are you really doing? You don't have to answer out loud, but how are you really doing? If you were honestly to look at yourself, what would you find? Are things well within you? Not about what's going on around you. Are things well within you? I think if we spent some time looking on the inside, you might find the inner voice of fear motivating you. Or maybe there's something deep within you that just needs to control things or to achieve more or to do better. Maybe there's an inner voice that's just a wreck even when things are good. Maybe you just have a need to know things and you've just got to be the smartest person in the room. And when you take time to reflect, you're like, okay, there's this inner voice that it makes me feel like, if I'm not the smartest person, then I'm not okay. And even maybe when things are amazing around you, you just can't seem to find this like internal happiness. And things are good on the outside, but things aren't that great on the inside. Maybe you just feel like something's missing, like there's an emptiness. You see, we all have this internal feeling of emptiness. Every single one of us. Even if our life is amazing and we have everything we want and things are amazing and things are good and we've got lots of friends and we got good grades and we cleaned up on awards and we're going to the best school next year or you've got these great vacation plans and you're like, things are good, you still feel this emptiness inside. And it's actually something that God created within us. I want you to know this is an emptiness that God actually created within us. It's something that we all feel. It's something that the person created in us. Something God created in us. He created this longing for something more, for something that people and places and experiences can't satisfy. In fact, the only thing that can satisfy it, the only thing that can satisfy this internal feeling of emptiness and longing for more is God. It's a creator himself. But the problem is, and I think we all feel this. I think we all feel this just by looking out in the room. I think we all feel this. We try and find other things. We try and find other things to satisfy that empty feeling on the inside. Instead of going to God, we try and fill it with other things. And so we wander around aimlessly, trying to find things that make us internally happy. Maybe you've gone looking and you're like, you know what, I'm just going to watch Friends one more time, all the way through, by myself. Maybe it's a friend. You're like, if I can just hang out with my friend all the time, I'll be happy because I can lean on them and I can vent to them and they make me feel good and then they make me feel not so empty and alone. Or maybe it's with a boyfriend or a girlfriend. In fact, maybe you're in the room and you can't stand being single. Because there's something going on internally that says you need to be loved, you need to be appreciated, you need to be seen by someone, and more than just a friendship kind of way. And there's this like internal emptiness, and so you're like, I need a boyfriend, I need a girlfriend all the time. Maybe it's through substances that you try and fill this internal void. Maybe you vape or smoke or drink, and that feeling of doing something while being underage just kind of gives you a bit of a rush, and it kind of fills that void inside, and it makes you feel good for a little while. And we go from place to place and person to person and experience to experience and substance to substance, all in an effort to fill an internal void that can only be satisfied by the one who created it. And that's God. And so tonight, I know this feels a little heavy, but I think it's so important. Tonight, I want to look at a psalm, and it's written by a guy named David, and he's going to show us some powerful imagery about how God satisfies and restores his soul. And then we're going to look at a story of a guy named Horatio. Everybody say Horatio. Horatio. And he experienced a satisfied soul, even though his world was crashing down around him. And then to end tonight, I want to give you two different thoughts about how we can experience that same thing of having a satisfied soul, that we don't feel this longing for more and emptiness. So as we dive in, why don't everybody stand up, turn to the person beside you. If there's no one beside you, just walk to someone. If there's three of you, that's okay. And why don't you just ask this question? Are you ready for this? 1, 2, 3. Are you ready for this? Okay, you can sit down. That sounded really painful to ask someone, are you ready for this? Oh boy. Okay, let's check out this psalm that King David wrote. In this passage, David, he actually compares people to sheep. Okay, it's kind of cool. He compares people to sheep, and he compares God to a shepherd. And it might be a little bit weird to you and I, but the people he was writing to would have understood it, because sheep were entirely dependent on shepherds to survive. And in fact, without a shepherd, sheep just kind of wandered around looking for food and water. They just checked the fridge all the time, just boom, 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 pantry, fridge, freezer, okay? And they weren't thinking about how, dangerous it was for lions and bears to be around. They were just wandering around looking for food and water. They weren't watching where they were walking. They would oftentimes get, caught in like rock crevices, or sometimes even just walk off cliffs, because they're just like, food, boom, dead. They just wandered without a shepherd. And if I can be honest, sheep are just kind of stupid. Turn to someone and say, sheep are stupid. Okay? They aren't smart, and so without a shepherd, they just wander off. And so it kind of makes sense, if we're honest with ourselves, it kind of makes sense why David compared us to sheep. Okay? Kind of makes sense. We're kind of wanderers. We're looking for something to fill the void within us. We wander around. We're not just looking for food and water, but we're just looking for different things, wandering around. And we're a bunch of sheep. So let's read this. Looks like it's already on the screen behind me. It says, "The Lord is I shall not want. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." And we're going to stop right there. There's a couple more verses, but David's writing this, he realized that when he is with the shepherd, when he's genuinely following, listening, obeying the shepherd, he doesn't want anything else. It means his soul is at peace. He doesn't need to be fulfilled by anything. His soul doesn't need success to feel validated. He doesn't need his friends to accept him. He doesn't need, his friends to make him happy, or for his post to have a ton of engagement. He is just, I'm following my shepherd, and I'm internally good. I'm doing good. He had complete content with God as his shepherd. And so he keeps writing. He says, "He makes me lie down in green pastures." Remember, we're talking about sheep here. "He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul." So, sheep, they don't really need anything other than pasture where they can eat, and still waters where they can drink water. And so there's no better site for a herd of sheep than fresh green pastures and still waters. Life is simple for sheep. They just follow the shepherd and eat and drink water. It's an amazing life. It's very, very simple. And so I want you to see when they get to green pasture, when they get to still water, when they eat and drink, they are restored. They're refreshed. They aren't thirsty. They aren't hungry. They aren't searching anymore. And so David, he keeps writing. He says, "He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me." And this is some pretty odd language, okay? But basically what David is saying here is saying that even though life sometimes stinks, even though life sometimes sucks, even though it feels like we've hit rock bottom, or we're close to rock bottom, or we're walking through a dark valley, even though we have those moments or seasons, we don't have to fear, because God is with us. God is comforting us. God, as the shepherd, the good shepherd, is leading us to green pastures and still waters. And so maybe some of you tonight, you feel like you're in some pretty deep valleys. You're there now, or at least you've been there, and you know what that feels like. You know what it feels like to be lost and uncertain about your future, and to feel fearful, and to feel like something's messed up or missing inside of you, and you're longing for something more. But the good news about God is that you can keep moving forward. You don't need to be stuck in fear. You don't need to be stuck in confusion. You don't have to keep chasing things and trying to fill that emptiness inside, because God is with you. He's leading you to green pastures, to still waters. He's taking you on a journey that can actually fulfill you on the inside. It reminds me of a story, this guy named Horatio. He had a cool last name too, Spafford. Horatio Spafford, okay? I've told this story before, but if you haven't heard it before, it's worth repeating. And it's the story of one man who is deeply satisfied with God. His soul was content. He didn't feel like he was missing anything. And even though his whole world fell apart, he still felt content on the inside. And this guy, he lived in Chicago, and he was a businessman, and he had a lot of his money and business and assets tied up in real estate, which means he owns a lot of property, he owns a lot of businesses. And he was married. He had 5 kids. He had 4 girls and 1 boy. But his son dies of today, which would be an easily treatable sickness. His son dies. Shortly after his son dies, he loses absolutely everything in the Great Chicago Fire of 1871. Loses everything. Loses his business, loses all of his homes, loses everything. He had everything tied up in real estate, and he lost it all. Destroyed his home, destroyed his businesses. And so 2 years later, in 1873, he put his wife and his 4 daughters on a ship, and that ship was headed for England, and they were going to have a new, fresh start. And he stayed behind and tried to, gather up things that were left and save a little bit what was left of his businesses. And a few days after the ship departed, he received a telegram from his wife that said, "Saved alone, what shall I do?" Because you see, what happened is there was a shipwreck, and all 4 of his daughters drowned, and his wife survived alone. And so she gets to England, and she writes Horatio, "Saved alone, what shall I do?" And so Horatio, he quickly boarded a ship to England, and as that ship passes over the very spot where his 4 daughters drowned just a couple weeks earlier, he writes a song, and these are some of the words to that song. It's going to be up on the screen. He writes, "When peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever my lot, thou hast taught me to say, it is well with my soul." And some of you might even recognize this song. It's sung in many churches still today. But how can this guy sing that? How can he truthfully say that, it is well with my soul, it is well internally, when he lost almost his entire family weeks before? His business has been burned to the ground. He's lost 5 kids. And he sits down and he writes, "It's well with my soul." And I want you to know that I don't think he was ignoring what was going on. I don't think he was not processing what had happened. I don't think that he wasn't feeling sad and he was just writing a song and ignoring his feelings and pretending that everything was, bright and sunny and the seas were filled with unicorns. I don't think that's what was happening. I think he felt his loss, but there was something deep within him, deep inside him, that was where his soul was okay, it was good, it was content. There was something within him that allowed him to push through the tragedies that he was facing. I think he had a satisfied soul that sustained him. I think he experienced the same comfort and peace and restoration that King David wrote about. And so I just want to spend a couple minutes, and I want to talk about, how can we experience that same peace and comfort? How can we experience what King David and this guy Horatio, how can we experience that? So I feel like sometimes I stub my toe, and I think the world is crumbling down around me. I think I need some of this. So how do we answer with complete honesty that we are good, that our soul is satisfied, that it is well within us, even though our world feels like it's falling apart? How can we satisfy our souls? 2 ways. Number 1, we need a shepherd. Everybody say, "Man, I need a shepherd." I need a shepherd. And number 2, we need to stay with the shepherd. Everybody say, "I need a shepherd. I need to stay with the shepherd." Some of us, our soul is lost, and you feel it. You know something is off, but maybe you haven't been able to put a finger in it. And just like sheep, maybe you just find yourself wandering around. Maybe not physically wandering around, but internally wandering around. You're looking for something, you haven't been able to find it, and You're tired of searching, and you're tired of feeling alone and feeling empty and living without a purpose. And maybe even you're experiencing unexplained anxiety and feelings of depression and thoughts of hopelessness. And I want you to know that there's an answer. I want you to know that there's a way to fill that void, that emptiness, and it's with a shepherd. It's with the relationship with God. You see, just like sheep, people, they've actually been wandering since the beginning of time. It's not something that just you and I deal with. You see, God, he created the universe, he created the earth, he created everything in it, and he created a man named Adam and a woman named Eve. And Adam and Eve, they made one decision that changed everything for humanity. Adam and Eve, they wandered away from God. They wandered away from the shepherd, and ever since we've been born into that same feeling of being lost and alone and feeling like something's missing, and we keep doing the same thing because of that one decision of just wandering. And so to restore our souls, to give us meaning and a purpose and an incredible life here on earth and an everlasting life when we pass, God sent his one and only Son, Jesus. He sent him to earth to walk among humanity. And Jesus lived this perfect life. He never wandered. Jesus, he never wandered from the shepherd. He had a life full of pain, of loss, of grief. The world threw everything at him. If we think our life is horrible, just read through Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. It was pretty bad for Jesus. In fact, his life even ended in death. But here's the cool thing. He never lost sight of the shepherd. He never lost sight of God because he was deeply connected to God. He saw a need for a shepherd and followed the shepherd closely. And he gave us this amazing example of how to do that and what that looks like. And the benefit of living a life where we see a need for God and seeing that we need to stay close for God, it's an internal closeness. There's going to be one day where we get to spend eternity close to God, no wandering, no emptiness, no feeling of there's got to be something more. But the consequence of a wandering soul, following anything and everything except God, is this internal separation. It's eternal wandering. But Jesus made a way for us to be in a relationship with him here and now, and we can experience that closeness and that fulfillment here and now today. And so maybe you're here and you're like, yeah, if I took a deep look inside, I think I would say that there are moments when I felt lost. And my soul has kind of been wandering and I feel like there's something missing and there should be something more, and I'm just not sure where to look or where to go, and I've tried all these things and it's just not working out for me, and I keep feeling more empty when I try new things. There's got to be something more. Friends won't do it. Looking in the fridge 100 times doesn't do it. Binge watching Friends doesn't do it. Substances doesn't do it. And you feel empty. Guys, I want you to know that there is an opportunity to find your soul a home. There's an opportunity for your soul to no longer wander. You don't have to feel lost anymore. Guys, you can walk in this relationship with God and you can experience true, fulfilling life. Your soul can find a home, and that home is with Jesus. And when your soul has a home, everything in the world can be chaotic around you. But in the come home, your inside world can be at rest. And I just want you to think, like, how differently would your world be? How differently would your world be if you felt this inner peace, this inner satisfaction that my soul is satisfied, it's restored, it's okay? I think you would live in boldness. You would take more risks. You wouldn't be torn up by little things, that you would have a futuristic and optimistic approach to life. And people would look at you and say, what in the world is wrong with you? Like, your world's falling apart and you're happy, and it doesn't seem like you're just ignoring what's going on around you. Like, you're genuinely Like you're happy, you're at peace. And you can tell them, yeah, it's well with my soul because I don't have to wander. And I can go through everything because I'm following a shepherd who's leading the way. You can be satisfied no matter what craziness is going on around you, and God can breathe life into you, and your soul can be restored. It doesn't have to be about achieving and succeeding and being the better person and getting the most engagement on social media or being the class clown or whatever it is. It doesn't have to be about that. So I want to ask you, is it well within you? And if you're honest with yourself and you would say, no, it's not. I'm actually kind of tired of feeling unfulfilled. I'm tired of wandering. I want you to know, and I want you to give an opportunity for that to change. And so I'm just going to lead you in a prayer. And all this prayer means is you're making a decision to trust the shepherd. You're making a decision to trust that God is leading you. That he's going to lead you to green pastures and still waters, and you're going to get to be able to experience what Horatio and King David experienced. And the world is crumbling down around them, and they're walking through the darkest valleys, and you don't have to fear it, and you don't have to be scared. And sure, you're still going to feel sad, and you're still going to go and have to process through those feelings, but internally, deep down in your soul, you're going to say, it is well. It's good. Like, I'm actually fine. Like, it may sound weird, but I'm actually content inside. And so if that's you, if you've never made a decision to follow Jesus before, I want to give that opportunity for you to do that tonight. And if you've been a follower of Jesus for some time or your whole entire life, you may like, yeah, I think I haven't been close to the shepherd. Maybe I've done a little bit of wandering and I'm feeling a little unfulfilled and I feel like there's something more, and I've had some time to, to take a look inside, and I'm not actually quite happy about where my life is at. I want to give you an opportunity to stay close to the shepherd. And so we're going to pray, and I'm just going to say a couple words, and you can repeat after me, and we're all going to say it together. And then we're going to split off into connect groups and talk about this a little bit more. So why doesn't everyone just close your eyes and look at your feet or something if you don't want to close your eyes, but no one's looking around. And I just want you to pray with me. I just want you to repeat after me. So let's pray. Just say, God, we thank you. Everyone all together, God, we thank you. One more time, God, we thank you. We thank you that you are our shepherd. That when we feel lost and alone, that you're there to guide us, to give us peace and comfort. God, tonight in this moment, I'm acknowledging that I need you. I need a shepherd. And so tonight I commit to following you. I understand that my soul is lost without you. And so I ask tonight that you would satisfy and restore my soul. Help me stay close to you. Help me not to wander. Help me to trust. God, lead me through my valleys to green pasture and still water. Amen. You can open your eyes. You can look up. Guys, I